The Life of Pi.summary 14. The following chapters resemble the previous ones, focusing mainly on Pi's emotions and thoughts rather than on events. However, those rare events described served to conjure Pi's despair, which became unbearable after several weeks in the open ocean. Chapter 73 opens with Pi wishing to have a book with a never-ending story. He had already read the survival manual several times just to pass the time, although he craved for meaningful reading that would feed his soul. He also kept a diary in an attempt to capture a reality that overwhelmed him. Lack of books during the survival period in the ocean made him cry when he encountered a Bible for the first time after he was rescued. He was so overwhelmed with joy at having that book again that he sent a contribution to Gideon's, asking them to expand their activity and make the Bible more approachable worldwide. Back at the boat, it seems that Pi had started losing faith. He tried hard to remember that everything he had and everything that surrounded him belonged to God, but could not ask himself why God was so harsh to him. Nevertheless, he would always find a shining point in his heart that would make him go on loving. When it came to the outside world surrounding Pi, living conditions on board deteriorated. There was less and less food. Therefore, he was compelled to calculate the precise amount and timing of food. Refraining from food was especially hard for him, as he was constantly hungry. At one point, he decided to try and eat Richard Parker's excrement. He did not feel disgust, nor was he afraid of parasites. Desperation took him over completely. The only reason he did not use it as a meal was the sudden thought that excrement is, just waste without nutritive value. He started dreaming of food. The hungrier he became, the bigger the portions were in his dreams. It almost became his obsession, although he was not even picky with his meals, eating almost everything he caught in the ocean, rarely leaving any waste. The despair did not affect Richard Parker's meals, as Pi continued to supply him with fish. This obviously had an effect on the tiger, as Pi noticed that the tiger started hiding his feces, as he was afraid that Pi might spot it. That was a clear sign that Richard Parker considered Pi dominant. This was good news. Pi had to make use of it. Lack of food was just one of the many problems Pi faced in the lifeboat. With time, his blankets disintegrated, leaving him completely naked, exposed to the sun, ocean, rain, and the winds. His skin was in a bad condition, lips cracking and bleeding, the rest of the body scorched in the sun. Life on the boat became unbearable. Days were too hot, nights were too cold. He had no shelter, no food, no physical strength to cope with problems. This affected his mind too. He became prone to depression and feeling of terror, yet happy for small things, like a dead fish that would become his next meal. Sharks were ever present around the boat, but they never bothered them much. Pi had enough time to notice that their activity intensified at dawn and dusk. Sometimes they would knock on the boat as if trying to investigate the unknown object before them, but that was it. On several occasions, he managed to catch smaller specimens, but once, as he tried to pull it on board, the shark swirled into the air and fell into Richard Parker's territory. The tiger was startled, as he had never had contact with this animal. He immediately attacked it with his paws. The only way a shark could defend itself was to bite, and so it did. It caught Richard Parker's paw and would not let it go. The battle was so fierce that Pi had to leave the boat and jump onto his raft. Richard Parker was obviously in great pain, as he roared like never before. Pi claimed that he felt the blast of hot air against his body. That is how strong and loud the roar was. Richard Parker managed to shake off the shark from his paw eventually. When Pi came back, he noticed the shark pieces scattered all over the boat. In the following days, The tiger tended his paws, licking them exceedingly.